Hello and welcome to Window on Wilmington. I'm City Council President Theo Gregory, sitting in as your host today. Today on our show, we'll hear about the upcoming Old Brandywine Village Music Fest. We'll have a look at the upcoming seasons for the Grand Opera House and the Delaware Children's Theater, and we'll check in with the Department of Parks and Recreation about their fall and winter programs. But first, we're going to have a conversation about domestic violence. Joining us are Mariann Kenville-Moore and Erin from the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And just thanks for coming in and spending some time with us this morning.
It's great. We always enjoy being able to come out and talk with you.
Okay.
And what an honor to be in your company today.
This is my swan song.
I think it's a wonderful day then.
I get to volunteer and do all the things that I used to want to do.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This is my swan song. Let me ask you about domestic violence. What are some of the warning signs or some of the indicators as to whether or not a person is abused or not? I think that's a more important question. The question here says, what are the signs of the abuser?
Right.
But the silence surrounding the abuse, I want to talk about the abuse. Sure,
and there's a lot of misunderstanding still about domestic violence. As much as we've heard about domestic violence in the media and in the news, and we see it in movies, and we might experience it in our own lives, we don't have a real good understanding oftentimes. We think that we're going to see signs of physical injury or assaults or witness things, but oftentimes what we begin to see with our friends or our family members is this pattern of coercion and control, where there is perhaps excessive jealousy or isolation of the victim, where the person isn't allowed to go and be with friends or family any longer. They might make excuses for what might be an injury to try to cover things up. And that covering up of the coercion and control going on in the relationship really prevents people from knowing how serious it might be. And there might be a great deal of violence in the relationship.
Mm-hmm. If you suspect that someone is abused and you're their friend or you're in their environment in some way, what can one do or what should one do to address the situation?
We get calls from family members and friends who are concerned about their loved one all the time. And one of the first things we say to them is to not judge. Mm-hmm. Because our instinct is going to be to tell the person to leave. Mm-hmm. But leaving is a very complicated thing. In fact, one of the things that we know is that when a woman leaves a coercive, battering type of relationship, they actually are at greater risk of being killed.
Right.
And so what we want is for people to recommend to their loved ones to get in contact with domestic violence programs. Because there have been many studies that have been done that show that when victims connect with service and begin to safety plan and think about how they are going to leave or what things they need to put in place, many people, many victims do not have the financial resources to leave.
Right.
99% of all victims indicate that through that relationship they've experienced some type of financial abuse. So you really need to be planful and thoughtful before you leave a relationship.
You said something in your answer that sparked another question. Can a man be the victim of domestic violence? You said woman.
Well, when I used an example earlier, I used a woman. But yes, certainly men can be victims of domestic violence as well. And we see it not only in straight couples, but also in gay and lesbian couples. And in fact, men who are in gay relationships actually have higher incidence of violence, even more prevalent than with women. With women, 1 in 4 women will experience violence in a relationship, but in gay couples, it's slightly higher than that.
Does whether or not a person or a family have children, does that factor into the equation of leaving or addressing domestic violence?
I think it certainly does. I mean, that's the other reason we hear that people decide to stay in abusive relationships, whether it's emotional or physical or sexual. It's because they are trying to make it work for the kids. Or they're afraid if they leave the relationship, will the children be abused? Because children who are in these families are at greater risks of being abused themselves.
What kind of services does the coalition offer to folk who are involved in abusive relationships?
Well, we are a coalition of member organizations. So we have Child Inc., which is here in Newcastle County in Wilmington. We have the YWCA, Community Legal Aid Society, and People's Place, the Delaware Center for Justice. And we work with them to raise awareness. We offer training. We do a lot of policy and advocacy work. We really have been working hard to raise people's knowledge and understanding so that we can address the issues of violence and crime within the city. In particular, we've been doing a great deal of prevention work as well, working with programs like Prestige Academy and Lutheran Hilltop Community Center here in the city to try to talk about healthy relationships and engage the community in a way that we can work towards ending violence. And so that is our primary mission, is to work towards ending violence in these relationships.
Is it fair to say that if one grew up in a home with domestic violence, either as the abused or the abuser, then they may experience domestic violence as an adult, either as the abuser or the abuser?
Certainly, we have seen that.
I'm being told to engage you in this conversation.
Yeah, certainly.
How do I do that?
I can turn to her and say, Erin, would you like
Erin, would you like to say something now, please?
Yes, that is true, that we have seen studies, and a lot has been done around that children that are witnesses to the abuse by an intimate partner, they will have a higher chance of being abused themselves or being the abuser. So it's very important to educate our whole entire community on what can happen, not only to the man or the woman being abused, but also the children.
Now, I know you've answered this question. It's embedded in a lot of your other answers, but I want to go back and get a clear definition of what domestic violence is. Can you just state very clearly some of the elements of domestic violence?
And I want to, if I can, real quickly describe it in two different ways.
Okay.
Our criminal code defines domestic violence as being any type of violence within a family relationship. When we at the Coalition talk about domestic violence, we're talking about intimate partner violence between a man and a woman, or a woman and a woman, or a man and a man, in an intimate relationship where there's a pattern of coercive, abusive behavior. And that abusive behavior can be physical, emotional, financial, sexual. It can be any of those things. But it's that pattern that happens over time that we see. Every now and again, someone will lose their temper, and perhaps that could qualify as a crime. But if it isn't part of that pattern, it's not that we aren't concerned, but when we talk about domestic violence and the risks of lethality and how difficult it can be for people leaving, that's more around that pattern of abuse that we see, where the person is not willing to let go of or recognize that the behavior is inappropriate and needs to be changed.
Let me ask this question in probing. There's this terminology, codependency, and we'll put that aside, and maybe you can comment on that in the context of domestic violence if you can. But also, do you see situations where in the relationship, folk are both the abused and the abuser? In other words, you have folk who are abusing the other person. They're just abusing one another.
Sure.
They're just going back and forth.
They are, and there's been study and review of it. I think part of the difficulty in this work with giving any type of definitive answer is that it's only been around 35 years, 40 years that this movement has been looking at this issue of domestic violence. And so our understanding of it is still very new. So when I talk about that coercive, controlling behavior and those patterns, I talk about that because that's what we understand the best. And we have study that tells us that if we do certain things, we can reduce the risk of more serious violence. Your questions about mutual combative relationships,
right.
We certainly see that. Just like we see situational violence, we see mutual violence, but it's this other piece that we also are most concerned about. The mutual violence, we want to get to the root of that. Maybe it has always been abusive, but we also know that victims sometimes in retaliation for the violence or in self-defense come forward and they're violent as well.
You live in a society, and I talk to folk all the time, particularly women, and a man has hit them once and then maybe hit them twice, And I normally say, well, I don't think he's going to stop. And they try to convince me that, yes, he is going to stop, but generally they come back with a third, fourth, or fifth time. Can you break somebody from being an abuser? I guess they get counseling. How successful is the counseling in those contacts?
Well, the bottom line with any of this work, and I know through your work here in the city, you've probably worked with many people who aren't really committed to changing, and so you don't expect them to change. But our justice systems and our social service systems are set up to have services available if the person is willing to accept that help and recognize their problems. There have been, again, we know that it takes probably 7 or 8 times of leaving before someone actually leaves a relationship. It's not always clear to someone that this is a pattern, and the human mind is wonderful in creating denial and other coping mechanisms based on whatever your circumstances
Well,
are.
I know my mom used to always say, once a hitter, always a hitter. And it's a tough cycle to break.
It is. It's a very difficult cycle.
You have some events coming up. Tell us about those.
We do. Well, see, this is where I'm going to defer to my colleague, Erin.
Oh, that's
here.
what I was supposed to do. That was my cue.
That's good.
On October 13th, we have our biggest fundraiser event. It's called the Purple Ribbon Event, being held in Newark at the Executive Banquet and Conference Center. And this is held annually during National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And our program will feature, it's going to have a cocktail hour, it's going to have a raffle, we're going to have a live performance by the Rainbow Chorale of Delaware, which is a nonprofit chorus group made up of members from the LGBTA community. So we're very excited to be able to have them there and listen to their performance. And most importantly, we'll be giving out 2 awards that evening. They told
me to wrap it up. You got to go to the other 2 events.
Okay, go ahead.
We also tomorrow are going to be having a webinar on financial literacy, and if people go to our website, they can learn more about that. And the Governor's Proclamation is October 11th.
And the next one, that's the Proclamation.
The Proclamation is the 11th, October 11th.
Thank you very much. Very informative. I enjoyed myself for the first 15 minutes.
Wonderful.
Let's go. Hope that the next 15 minutes go as well as the first 15 minutes. And when we return, we're going to talk about the Old Brandywine Village Music Festival. Thank you.
Can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite. Unearth hidden passion. Come on, we'll have a good time. One book can be the first thing, and still change a life. We will unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
I got no pulse, so losing.
Sergeant, he's in B-Fit.
Shocking. Goes it real all the time. Just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We're just buzzed. Just buzzed. You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. You'll be fine.
I feel good.
Really? No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Being a dad can be tough.
We're back with Bev Zimmermann, event coordinator for the Old Brandywine Village Music Fest. Welcome, Bev.
I'm Mr. Gregory, or President Gregory, I should say.
No, I'm Mr. Gregory as of January something.
Well, it's not January yet.
Were you surprised to see me as your host today?
I was.
Very
I
surprised. Me too. I'm
pleased,
surprised also.
Yeah, pleased but surprised.
Can you tell me, where is the Old Brandywine Village?
Old Brandywine Village, if you're not familiar, it's across the Market Street Bridge over the Brandywine. And it's an area, it's a small area, but there's some businesses and things going on there. And I did a list just so I could mention it on the air. One is ColorWorks Photographic Services. Habitat for Humanity is based there. Maisley Military Gloves, Montana Design Group, the Junior League. Job Corps is there. Ministry of Caring has just taken over the Cathedral Church of St. John. Reed's Refuge, Urban Bike Project, the Wilmington Hope Commission, and Wilmington Senior Center.
And how long have you been associated with the Old Brandywine Village?
This is 4 years for me. I was asked to come on and be an event coordinator for them after I left the city.
Good. And you have a festival coming up?
We do, this
Tell
Saturday.
Me, what's the festival all about? What would be the layout? What should we expect?
Well, it is called the Brandywine Village Music River Fest. And it will go on from 11 to 6. It's free. And it's basically a street fair and neighborhood festival. We're going to have live music all day. We'll have the city's bandwagon there and 4 bands playing. There'll be food vendors, exhibitors, arts and crafts vendors, and children's activities. We're going to have the city's Parks and Recs street tennis. First Tee of Delaware is doing mini golf. Mad Science, which is a company that this year is going to make slime so the kids could go and just have this dripping around. Last year they made super balls, so that was pretty fun. Another vendor making sand art, doing face painting, strolling magicians. Habitat for Humanity is going to do a do-it-yourself workshop, and there'll be more there.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the bands? What kinds of music will they be playing? Do you have any names?
Well, yes, we do. We're going to start off with Reed's Refuge, which is in the area, and they've got their own recording studio there.
Okay.
So Fred Reed is going to perform at 11 o'clock when we open up, and then at 12 is a rock band called the J.C. Fisher Band. At about 1:45 is the Jackie Brown Jazz No Net, and that No Net means 9-piece, basically. So 9-piece jazz band, and then we're finishing it off with Hollywood in the Final Cut, and they're going to do 2 sets. One's going to be funk, and one's going to be Motown.
And physically, where exactly in the Brandywine Village will the festival be?
It's going to be right on Superfine Lane, so it's on Market between like 19th and Superfine Lane. There's a little pocket park there called the Brandywine Mills Plaza, and we'll have some stuff in there, but there's a Dollar General right there, so if you turn right there, you're right on the grounds.
And again, you went through the vendors. Can you highlight again what vendors would be there? You went through the activities, but not the vendors. What vendors would be there?
Well, the food vendors are going to be Fat Rick's Barbecue, and then a seafood vendor called Blue Marlin. The other vendors are going to be more arts and crafts type of, people that are selling jewelry and the other handmade items, and some baked goods.
Now, you have a festival, and obviously the purpose of a festival is to have fun. What is the other mission of this festival in the Brandywine Village? Why have the festival in the Brandywine Village?
Well, it's a very diverse community there. And one of the things that they applaud themselves about is that everybody really knows each other, gets along, and helps out. So just having a festival like this where you've got all these different businesses and groups of people and just individuals that get together, they plan this event and just have a nice day.
I like to think of the Brandywine Village as our little Greenwich Village here in the city. Very on a small scale like New York, but it's very diverse in the kinds of activities they want to engage in.
They're hoping to keep revitalizing that community. The Dollar General went up a little over a year ago, and it's actually helped. It's been like a little, kind of like a grocery store there, but it's brought a lot of business, it's brought a lot of people down there, and hopefully everyone benefits.
It looks real nice in our shop.
It does.
Let me ask you this. What are some of the other activities that you engage in throughout the year?
Well, we do a summer series concert, which is the first Sunday of each month, May through September. And we have it at the rear plaza of the Hercules building, and it looks over H. Brown Fletcher Park. And we have different types of music there that's free also. Downtown Visions comes and they set up their little tables and chairs and umbrellas for us. And it's just a nice event where people can sit and enjoy the music for an hour and a half, and they can bring their dogs, they can bring a cooler and stuff and just enjoy it. And then we're going to do a Christmas event again this year. We did one about 2 years ago and didn't do it last year, but we will this year.
You have some good news for us, or some news for us about Theater Inn? It's been in the newspaper. Maybe you can give us an update.
I am currently the director of administration for the Grand Opera House.
Okay.
I used to be the manager of Theater Inn from 2002 to 2013. The Mill, which is a shared workspace in the Nemours building, has taken over the management of the theater and asked me to come back and book the films.
That's good. That's
so
good.
I am.
What kinds of films should we anticipate from Theater Inn?
It's all independent films, just like it was before.
Okay.
So the only thing that independent means is that it doesn't have a big studio behind it. So you're not going to see Batman versus Superman there,
right?
Or any big action film. You'll see more of the type of films that are up for Academy Awards, that are more story-driven, that sort of thing, and documentaries.
Well, was
and
Theater Inn a nonprofit? Now it's going to go for-profit?
No, it's going to be nonprofit.
Nonprofit. Will you be charged to go to Theater Inn? Will there be a fee?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's a movie theater. It's a movie theater. We've got popcorn. We also have we have popcorn, candy, alcohol.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't know about the alcohol, but all the rest of it's good.
It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
Well, it's nice for people that if they've been out to dinner and then they come on a Saturday night for the 8 o'clock show,
right,
and they can just have a glass of wine or a beer while they watch the show.
A lot of enthusiasm. You love your job.
I do.
I
love all of my jobs.
You love them all.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Coming up next, we're going to have a look at the new season of great shows coming to the Grand Opera House, and we'll be right back after this break. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shocking. Is it real all the time? Just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We're just buzzed. Just buzzed. You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. You'll be fine.
I feel good.
Really? No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Being a dad can be tough.
When's the fairy princess coming?
Any minute now. But it's always worth it.
I know it's really you, Boo. I'm just pretending for the other kids.
Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
I want a feast. I want a bean feast. Cream buns and donuts and fruit cakes, but no, not so good you could go nuts. Give 'em to me. Now I want a ball. I want a pie.
That was great. We're joined by two performers who will be in the Delaware Children's Theater's upcoming production of Willy Wonka. Koubek, who will be playing the part of Willy Wonka.
Yes.
Got that right?
That's correct.
And Katelyn Gallo, who will be playing the part of Veruca Salt. Welcome, and that was wonderful.
Well, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. That was from Willy Wonka, which starts November 19th.
Correct.
Right? But there is another show that is coming to the Delaware Children's Theater for 2016-2017 season, and it's a crowd favorite. It's called The Little Mermaid.
Correct. We're opening our season with The Little Mermaid.
And that's going to be from October 1 through 30th of this year. That's correct.
Absolutely.
And 2 o'clock p.m.
2 o'clock.
Now tell me a little bit about the Princess Parades, which I understand are a staple at DCT.
Oh, absolutely. The Princess Parade is something that we have to get our young audience to be a part of the show. So any of the boys and girls who come dressed in costume get an opportunity to come up on stage right before intermission. And we do a nice little parade where they get to come up and take pictures and sit back down. So it's a princess parade, but it's really more of a prince and princess parade.
And that would be before any performance?
Well, it's for especially for some of our shows, our fairy tale shows. So the Little Mermaid is definitely going to be one of those.
That's good. How long have you been associated with DCT?
For a few months. I started to join them last year in Mary Poppins.
And what caused you to get involved in drama? Do you go to a drama school?
No.
She's just a natural.
Yeah.
Why are you in drama? You like it?
Yeah.
Am I making you nervous? No. I'm sorry, I'm gonna move on. I'm making you nervous. Okay. What is your holiday show for this season? And now Thanksgiving, Christmas, if you don't mind.
Right. Our holiday show this season is going to be Willy Wonka.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to that one.
Are you having any other special events for the holidays?
Yes, actually, December 3rd, we have our storybook character breakfast, which will have 2 seatings at 9 o'clock and at 10:30. And so people can come and have breakfast, and some of their favorite storybook characters will be there, and a visit from Santa Claus as well.
Where do you get your costumes from? Are they just on set there? You have them in a closet, and everybody that's stored there?
The third floor at the Delaware Children's Theater is packed with costumes far and wide of every shape and size that you can think of.
So when the show comes and it ends, the costume goes back in the closet?
Yep, and we kind of collect them organically, and so it's
that's good. What other shows are you offering this season?
We have a really fun season coming up. So along with The Little Mermaid and Willy Wonka, we also have Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and then that we will also have the Aristocats is our theater for the very young at the end of the season, and we also have Peter Pan that we're squeezing in there as well.
And how did you get involved with the DCT?
I started with the Delaware Children's Theater about 8 years ago. Just on a whim, was invited. I heard that they needed some adult male actors, and so I took part in a play and met my wife there, and have been there ever since.
Are you a trained actor, or something you took up as a vocation?
No, it's just kind of a hobby that's just turned into the activity that takes up most of my free time now.
That's good. And I take it you joined as a hobby also.
Yes.
And I guess I'm trying to get to the point to tell the people that's watching this, join.
Absolutely.
Join. Take your chance and go to the theater and say, I'm here, I'd like to participate. Because we often get the complaints from the community that they can't participate, but they can participate.
Absolutely.
Just go join.
And you don't need to be an actor to participate. I mean, we take volunteers of all shapes and sizes.
You don't have to be a host to host a show either.
Exactly. No, we can just run with it. We can improvise.
I thought I might get that one in there.
But we do, whether it's painters or people that want to help with set design, costumes, lots of opportunities. So if people are interested, please come on out.
Let's talk about some nuts and bolts. Ken, how do you prepare for a part? Here's your part. How do you prepare for it?
Well, it's interesting. It kind of depends on the characters. I've played some interesting characters at the Children's Theater in my time there. A lot of times it really kind of starts with the voice from me and goes from there. Willy Wonka will be interesting because it's really going to be more my own voice than doing a character like I've done before. So.
Do you ever get in the mirror and see how your facial expressions look?
Yes, lots of time spent in a mirror working on, you know.
Now you hear actors say, "I get into character because I'm playing a police officer, right? So I go around the police department, but there's no Willy Wonka place you can go to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's only so much candy that you can eat to get ready for a role.
You've played Bert and Mary Poppins and the Cowardly Lion and the Wizard of Oz, and now you are going to be doing Willy Wonka himself.
Yes, and so these are big shoes to step into with the passing of Gene Wilder this past year. So. It's kind of a great opportunity for us to
do me
pay
a
homage
favor.
to such a good actor.
Obviously, I have no idea what Willy Wonka is or what it's about. Can you put it in context for us so that folk like me who are watching can get excited?
Well, Willy Wonka is exciting. It is an opportunity where it's a place where all of your dreams can come true. It is a world of pure imagination, as the song goes.
But that's good because now I realize my grandkids, I've heard them talk about this.
Yes?
So I have some reference back to it, but sitting here, I didn't know about that. But that's good, it sounds exciting. How does one audition for a show, and what do they have to do? We kind of covered that, but how does one audition
and again,
for a show?
we have auditions posted. You can go onto our website, which is dechildrenstheater.org. It's theater with an R-E, and see when our upcoming auditions are posted. But again, if you're looking to volunteer, not just as an actor, you can always just stop by, talk to somebody, to come to a show and get information, because we're always looking for volunteers.
What are some of the other pieces? You said not as an actor. I guess there are things behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Again, from working on set design, painting, costumes. There's spotlight operators. We've got sound, lighting. There's so many opportunities.
Makeup, artists, the whole night. Cleaning up before, cleaning up afterwards.
Yeah, helping move all the kids from where they need to be. Ushers, we've got lots of opportunities.
And moving the sets around.
Yep.
Katie, can I ask you a question now?
Yes.
Have you gotten used to me? Okay, you auditioned. Tell us what you remember about your audition, your first audition, and your involvement with the DCT.
Well, I was really nervous at first because I didn't really know the director well, but when I was singing, I did a pretty good job, and the director really liked me, and she was like, "You're Gene Banksy."
And how many plays have you been at DCT?
I've only been in 4 so far.
Only 4?
Yes.
That's quite a few. Yes, beyond 4.
And Katie's actually in The Little Mermaid opening, so she'll be splitting the role of Flounder, correct?
Yes.
That's good. Where do your performances take place?
At the Delaware Children's Theater, which is 1014 Delaware Avenue, right here in Wilmington.
I just realized something. That's where my wedding reception was when I got married back in 1974. And it's July 6th, my wife may be watching. I got married at Bethel, and we rented the Delaware DCT, and that's where my wedding reception was. So,
well, that's a very special thing.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I remember that now. Sing, you're going to carry us out with a song? You're going to carry us out.
I'm going to carry you out with a song.
Carry us out with a song.
All right.
You're going to tell us what you're going to sing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be singing Pure Imagination.
You're going to have to say it again in that mic because your mic's over here.
Certainly. Come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What
we'll see, will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it, want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be.
All right, you ready for some baseball trivia? Let's do it. What year produced the most no-hit games in the big leagues? 7 no-hitters in 1990. Wow, that's right. Now a question that's not trivial. How many children will witness bullying this year? The answer? 3 out of 4. 75%? That's
Wow.
right. How many of them will say something?
Kids want to help, but don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov.
We're back with Mark Fields, Executive Director of the Grand Opera House, which is now in 3 theaters, the Grand, the Baby Grand, and the Playhouse on Rodney Square. They have an exciting season coming up, and here with some of the details is the Grand's Executive Director, Mark Fields. Welcome, Mark.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, so let's talk about some of the exciting shows. All are exciting. I don't mean to exclude any of them, but all of them will be exciting that are coming up. The Grand and the Playhouse in the coming months. Let's talk about Murder on the Nile.
Well, Murder on the Nile is based on an Agatha Christie novel, so it's a murder mystery. It features Agatha Christie's renowned detective Hercule Poirot, the little Belgian with the little gray cells. And so most of the shows that we do at the Playhouse on Rodney Square are musicals, and this is an opportunity for us to try to do something a little different, something that's a straight play. But it'll be a lot of fun, a little bit of murder, a little bit of comedy, a lot of fun.
Did you give us a date?
That's October the 5th. Just one performance.
In the theater there is going to be the Playhouse.
That's correct, yes.
And let's go to Johnny Lang.
Johnny Lang is that same night. It's one of the examples of kind of the synergy that we get when we have all the theaters that we're running now. So we'll have a performance in the Playhouse that afternoon, and then that evening we'll be doing Johnny Lang in Copeland Hall at the Grand Opera House. He's a blues guitarist. We've been trying to get him for a number of years, so we're very excited that he's coming finally.
That's great. And the Stepping Stones and Joe Robinson.
That's an example of our third theater. We're kind of covering all the bases here, aren't we? The Baby Grand, which is only 300 seats, is a very intimate venue. We use it to expose emerging artists, and the Stepping Stones and Joe Robinson will be artists that you haven't heard of yet, but it could be very well that they could be the stars of tomorrow.
What's their genre of music?
It's Americana folk, even though Joe Robinson's an Australian, but he plays acoustic guitar, and Stepping Stones are a small ensemble.
And Chris Botti.
Chris Botti is Botti is a trumpet player. A lot of people know him. He does a lot of specials on public television. He's toured with Sting, and he's a terrific artist. We've had him here 3 or 4 times before, and he's a real crowd pleaser.
And he's going to be at the Grand Opera House.
He'll be at the Grand Opera
good.
House,
That's
yeah.
good. And we go to The Price is Right Live.
Believe it or not, it shows kind of the diversity of the programming that we do. We're doing a game show on the set, on stage. So it'll be just like the TV show that people have been watching for decades now. All the games that people recognize from television, members of the studio audience will be invited up to play the games, and it should be a real scream.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So who's going to be the game show host?
Well, it's just an actor who plays it. Drew Carey doesn't go on the road, so got to keep him in Hollywood doing the real show.
Okay. Well, we had to get, what's that one? Family Feud would be a nice one to bring.
Well, if they tour it, we'll certainly look at it.
I could pay Steve Harvey.
All right, we'll keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. Let me be Steve Harvey. Okay, let's talk about Rent.
Rent is the first show that we're doing in the Playhouse Broadway and Wilmington series this year. This is the 20th anniversary of this Tony Award-winning production. It's based on Puccini's La Bohème, the opera, but this is a rock musical and features characters, bohemian characters from the 1980s and 90s living in the Village in New York. It was a landmark play. It was one of the first shows on Broadway to deal with the issue of AIDS and the issue of being different in modern society, and we're very excited to be bringing it back.
I'm loving the diversity and the variations that you're giving
the
community. I think that's just great, and it speaks volume of your mission, and you're carrying out your mission.
Well, thank you.
In this community. Let's go to Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. Isn't that an oxymoron to use the word love and murder?
Well, that's exactly the point.
Oh, okay.
Gentleman's Guide is another Tony Award-winning musical. It's a parlor comedy. It's based on a movie from the 1950s called Kind Hearts and Coronets, starred Alec Guinness. But it's about a British nobleman who decides he's going to get ahead and become inherit the family fortune by killing off every member of the family. And it is actually very funny. Part of what makes it funny is all of the members of the family, both men and women, are played by the same actor.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And they all get offed in rather imaginative ways.
It sounds interesting. Very lively.
Yes.
Classic albums live.
Oh,
I'm sorry, did we go to a date?
The Gentleman's Guide opens in mid-November, so that'll be our first full week run at the Playhouse this
November
year.
15th through the 20th.
Yes.
Let's go to Classic Albums Live.
Classic Albums Live. This is a terrific set of concerts that we've been presenting for the last couple of years. This one will be Led Zeppelin II. These are all highly trained studio musicians, rock and roll musicians, and they recreate a classic album note for note, exactly the way it appeared on the album. Every sound, every vocal, and they start at the beginning of the album, go all the way through. They take the intermission at the time, for those of us who remember what LPs are, when you turned over the LP. And we're doing 3 this year. We're starting with Led Zeppelin, and then later in the year we're doing Prince's Purple Rain. And we're going to end that series this year with David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust.
More fun, more diversity, and more variation.
Absolutely.
And the Classic Albums Live is November 19th.
Yes.
At the Grand Opera House.
That'll be in Copeland Hall, yes.
And then we're going to go to the Broadway Christmas Wonderland.
This is something a little different for us. This is in the Broadway and Wilmington series again. It's really kind of like a Radio City Hall music program that you would see at the holidays in New York City. High-kicking songs of the season, all very festively performed, lots of sets and costume changes and things like that, and I believe we'll even have an appearance by Santa Claus.
That's great. It just sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And again, I just can't emphasize the variation and the diversity and the different genres of music that you're bringing. I just think there's something for all of Wilmington.
That's exactly what we're shooting for, Theo, is to something for everyone.
And we're going to go to Kinky Boots.
Kinky Boots.
I don't know if we should talk about this. This is a fan. It's a family show.
And this is a family musical. It's really about it's about acceptance and about knowing who you are and finding your place in the world. Another Tony Award-winning musical. We expect that this is going to be the hit of the season. We're already selling tickets very strongly. This is still running in New York. A very popular show, and we're really looking forward to it. And that'll be in December back in the Playhouse in Rodney Square.
A lot of fun with a good message.
Absolutely.
A lot of fun with a good message.
And wonderful, wonderful music.
That's what I heard. You've completed your first full year of operating the Playhouse just last spring, and what have you learned?
Well, we've learned that there is absolutely an audience for Broadway in Wilmington. We ended the last season back in May with the Jersey Boys, and we had 8,000 people attend that performance. And so we found that very encouraging. The Playhouse has had some couple of rough years and attendance has been off, but we're doing what we can to rebuild that, and I think the kinds of quality shows that we've been talking about here are exactly why we are rebuilding it.
Tell us a little bit about the big anniversary that's coming in December.
Well, this will be the 40th Grand Gala. So we've been doing the Grand Gala, our big fundraising event every year, which a concert in Copeland Hall, and then we all come down and have a party at Hotel DuPont. This year is our 40th Grand Gala. We'll feature two orchestras, a group called The Orchestra, which is former members of the Electric Light Orchestra, performing with their own Delaware Symphony Orchestra. So they'll be doing the great songs from the ELO songbook. And we're also honoring Jack and Carla Markell for all their contributions to the arts.
You've been involved with the Grand for nearly 10 years. Give us your thoughts on the future of arts at the Grand and in the city of Wilmington.
Well, we've been through a lot of changes in the last 10 years. I think the Grand has become more connected to the community, more relevant. I think we're doing a lot more to serve the community with our school matinee programs that draw over 25,000 school kids a year, and our Summer in the Parks program, which is supported by the city of Wilmington, where we take kids out take arts out into the neighborhoods. And I think that's our hope, to continue to build on programs like that and look for new opportunities that we can connect with the community.
I've just went through a season in my life that I won't label, and I can tell you that in that season I really have gained an appreciation, a better appreciation for the arts and how it just drives a community, and I just wish you the best going forward, and I just hope that you just keep growing.
Well, thank you very much.
That ends this segment, and we're going to be right back in a few minutes with the Department of Recreation and Sean Baker. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Take care.
Can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Imagine what you'd see if every child had a book to read. So the mission is for us to get a book to each and every child. So let's join hands, book people unite. Unearth hidden passion. So mama, have a good time. What can we learn something? Let's still change a life. We will unite.
Read to a child today and spark a lifetime of ambition.
We're back with Sean Baker from the Department of Parks and Recreation, and he's here to tell us about the fall and winter programs in the department. Sean, it says I'm supposed to ask you what's going on. It sounds like a song, doesn't it?
A lot of different things in the Department of Parks and Recreation we're doing in the fall and winter programs this year. We have our flag football program, which we have 5 teams in our 11 and under group, and we have 6 teams in our 14 and under all over the city. We have a team from the west side, a team from the north side, a team from the south side, and a team from the east side. So we have teams all over the city. We just started last week, so we're looking forward to it, and it seems like it's a good league.
Is it co-ed?
Yes, yes.
I think that the flag football is a good way to introduce people to football, both male and female. They get to learn the rules, and they don't have to worry about the contact aspect of the sport. So I just think flag football is just really wonderful in the community, and I hope a lot of kids and parents participate in that. Anything else you want to talk about flag football?
Well, we're trying to do a girls' league only this year.
Okay.
We're trying to do a girls' league, and we have 2 teams signed up. We need 3 to at least do a league, so we want to have 3, and we're looking forward to doing that on Saturday mornings at Governor Prince Boulevard.
That would be great. Push and pull. Tell us about that.
Our push and pull event is named after our former executive director, Mr. Chris A.R. Dolly, that was at Hicks Anderson, that passed away several years ago. And it's a push and pull contest that we have in Rodney Square. And in Rodney Square, they do the bench and they do the deadlift. They add both numbers together, and then they come up with a weight. We also do it with different weight classes. We have women's weight classes and we have men's weight classes to make sure we, able to encompass everybody.
Do you have, is that age also? Or?
No, age doesn't matter, it's weight.
So just
based
for
on
adults?
Weight. It's for adults, right.
This is for adults.
Right.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
Bring some diversity. And this where now?
In Rodney Square. We set up the bench, set up the squat in Rodney Square. I think it's October 15th in Rodney Square, and we have a great time. We usually get between 30 and 35 people to participate.
And will there be vendors there and food and?
No, we just open up, put the bench and put the squat, put the bench and put the deadlift there, and then we go at it. We don't do any vendors or anything like that.
Okay, but I'm sure people want to come in, they'll come and park around the square and make a little money.
That's fine with me.
On October 15th.
October 15th.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about bowling.
Our bowling, we do that Saturday morning. First State Lanes, done by our bowling coordinator, Mr. Herb Brown. We let seniors bowl for free, or really Parks and Rec picks up the tab for seniors. It's usually based between anybody between 6 and 18 years old. Mm-hmm. And then we let the seniors come in for free about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they bowl for like an hour and a half. First State Lanes from about 9 o'clock in the morning until about 12.
Sounds great. How many folk do you normally get participating?
We only get about 8 to 10 seniors. It's usually the same 8 to 10 seniors done by Miss Carolyn Peaks. She usually gets a group of the seniors together from over at Hicks Anderson and around the community and brings them. But the kids, there's 135 kids that come and bowl on Saturday morning.
Do the kids get to interact with the seniors?
If they want to, yeah, if they choose to.
Food program.
Our food program just started on Monday out of Youth and Families Division. We are going to 34, 35 different sites. Some we do breakfast, some we do lunch, some we do dinner. Just depends on what the sites are requesting. People can come in, sign up for a meal, and just put their name down and get a free meal.
That's great. That's great. Tennis?
Tennis. This year we're doing a new fall tennis program with Rodney Street Tennis Tutorial Association out at Rockford Park. Mm-hmm. Free tennis lessons be given by Rodney Street, and we only had 10 or 12 participants in the last couple of weeks. Our numbers are down. Hopefully those numbers will pick up.
Hopefully we get a lot of kids from urban America participating, because there are scholarships to be had. If you start early, you don't have to be great. You can be average, but it's a lifelong sport also, because you can play tennis well into your 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and at the same time you may get a scholarship out of it. Right. So let's introduce folk from the city to that. It'll be a great thing.
We've had 3 or 4 kids to do that. We've had 3 or 4 to scholarship to tennis that weren't great athletes, that weren't the best athletes in the group, but because they played tennis and because, as you just said, the money is out there.
That's right.
The grants are out there, and it's been a great program.
Non-traditional sports, there are a lot of scholarships available for folk. Adult and youth tackle football.
Well, again, this is back to kind of when I first met you. We're still doing the youth tackle football with the organizations. What has happened, instead of us as we do back in the day when it was yourself and Romaine, when we ran all the city football, the organization have kind of branched off.
Right.
We have Wilmington Titans,
that's right.
Which is run by Stephen Cologne. We have No Limit Hurricane, which is run by Kerry Galloway. We have the team out in Rosegate, which is run by Corey Wallace, Pure Talent, and then we have another team, the Wilmington Soldiers. So they kind of branched off and do their own thing. They still play at Eden Park, We do the scheduled Eden Park, which was a park that you created. That you put the football stadium down at Eden Park, put the bleachers at Eden Park. I remember that time when you were working on that. So they're still playing football. We had 4 football games last Saturday, and we had 4 football games on Sunday.
Just great. Now, Steve Brown, I think, is now ahead.
The president,
Steve
right,
Cologne.
right. Cologne's vice president.
But there's another point on that athletic field down at Eden Park. It should be an all-weather field by now. You realize it's not regulation. The east end zone is short.
It's close.
It's got ruts in it.
It
does. Slopes from right to left.
Yes, it does.
So for our kids, we should enhance that field. It should be an all-weather football field.
But you're talking about $200,000.
Well, I don't have anything to do now, so I may start working on that.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
You know that AstroTurf field, we would love to have an all-weather field.
Chester has one.
Yes, they do.
Let's do SAT prep.
SAT prep is starting next week, done by Youth and Family Services with Nicole Torrance and Nicole Adams. They come in and they do a pre-test, and they take the pre-test, then they go to another test to do the SAT test, and then get them ready for them to travel on the college tour.
And that leads us into the college tours.
College tour. They'll do a southern tour this fall, done by Nicole Torrance. They'll do some of the schools going down 95, some schools in Virginia, some schools in North Carolina.
That's great. Now, we have a long-time employee that's retiring, Mr. Levi. Talk to us about Mr. Levi and what does that mean to Parks and Recreation?
It means a whole lot. We have his retirement celebration this Saturday at the Powell Center on October the 1st from 4 until 7 p.m. Anyone is invited. He has sent out invitations. We've gotten like 45 people to come back and invite. Mr. Levi, coach, has been the guts and nuts and bolts of Parks and Recreation. Has been there so long and done a great job and been there 40 years and just been a great individual for all the divisions and everything in the city.
I want to thank you all for joining us on Window in Wilmington. From all of us here at WITN in the city of Wilmington, I'm Theo Gregory, and I won't see you next time. I was supposed to say I will see you next time. I won't see you next time.
Okay.
I volunteered to do this once.